In this video, I'm going to take a look at 5 locations that I think would be an amazing position to create a Battlefield map. I'm not sure what the next Battlefield game will be, and although it looks like it will probably be World War II, I'm going to focus on a more traditional, modern map. These maps are purely made up by me, and I really think that they would all make spectacular settings for the next all-out war game that we're expecting to receive. However, it's purely conjecture. There's no facts behind this, nothing at all. I am just making this up. If DICE were to see this, I'm sure that they could take some inspiration from it. These maps are similar to some of the things we saw in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, as I said, the modern and postmodern setting that we've been experiencing in previous Battlefields. Now, the first map I want to talk about was in fact inspired by a DICE developer, Krabi Thailand. Take a look at that picture. As I mentioned, this one wasn't thought up by me, however I really think it's quite awesome. One of the DICE devs retweeted a photograph of Krabi saying how awesome it would be if a Battlefield map was set there. I agree entirely. I'd like to see naval warfare in a similar fashion to Paracel Storm or Lost Islands on Battlefield 4, and then fast-paced infantry gameplay on the island. Jets would be included in my perfect world, but they would be purely for dogfighting and wouldn't be able to affect the infantry gameplay on the ground below. As you can tell from the photographs, this island is fairly weird with how it's put together. It's almost like there is no land and it's all buildings and pontoons and things floating in the water. I think that would make for really, really engaging infantry gameplay. You could run along the roofs, you could go within the buildings, and it would just be really, really fun. I don't think you should be able to get on top of the mountain, although most people would try and get up there and snipe. I think for the most part this would be a Pearl Market / Nosha Canals kind of experience. Maybe with the boats on the Conquest version of the map, you would have to include some exterior flags, because obviously that's quite a small section of map to have 64-player Conquest on. However, in my opinion, I think it could be a really fun infantry map. We've had Siege of Shanghai. Now, how about a port of Shanghai? Think back to Nosha Canals, maybe even the Dragon Valley remake in Battlefield 4. Then multiply that experience by 100 and you might be getting close to the scale of this port. This place is absolutely massive, and although DICE would not have to use the entire space, even capturing 1/10 of this port and creating a map on it would make for a great spectacle. In my perfect world, this map would be set out in a similar way to Achibaba in Battlefield 1, a circle with clear infantry routes from flag to flag. Getting across and cutting to another flag would require you to climb above the containers and expose yourself. In addition to that, there would have to be 3 to 4 lanes in order to prevent bottlenecks and absolutely no tanks or helicopters. Again, this would be an infantry-focused map. It would be possible to include some light armor, maybe some Amtraks, things like that, and Conquest would probably need a tank, in all honesty, because people do like the vehicle-infantry balance in Battlefield, but I would make sure to keep the infantry aspect of the map separate and kind of make it an infantry-focused map. Now for something really wacky and out there. Again, based in China, the Glass Bridge is an absolute behemoth of a bridge. It is the world's highest and longest glass bottom bridge, and of course is surrounded by tourists most of the time. They actually did a test on this thing a while back where they put a car on the bridge and then took sledgehammers and tried to break the glass and drove a car full of people over the broken glass, and there was no chance of it collapsing. This thing is incredibly strong. I think it would make a really, really fun one-off Battlefield map. When looking for possible locations for this video, I was thinking to myself, what made Battlefield 3, 4 and 1 so fun? Was it the gunplay and stuff like that? Well, most games have a decent crack at gunplay, and I don't think Battlefield really excels past what is already out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's really fun, but is it the best game ever for gunplay and player movement? I don't know about that. What DICE have managed to do, though, is come up with some amazing arenas for battle, with some spectacular locations. The Glass Bridge would certainly fit that criteria. Imagine a bridge with 3 objectives, one in the middle and the other 2 at either end. The bridge would then be scattered with all sorts of hard cover, enabling players to push up and take ground. At the very end of the bridge, you would have 2 objectives. What I'm essentially describing here is front lines. This is a game mode from Battlefield 1 that I love to bits, and it would be amazing to see it in a modern setting. What I reckon as well is on top of that you would have access to a couple of transport helicopters for each team so you could move around. Obviously this is a bridge, there's a lot of scope for aerial combat. Even in a game of Frontlines I think helicopters could be awesome. You'd have to be smart with the dead zone, making sure that players can't flank too far and camp at either end of the bridge. Apart from that I think this could be really fun. You'd also have the possibility to shoot out parts of the glass, only certain parts however, but that means that players would fall out and fall to their death beneath. I think it would be absolutely insane to have a map based on this glass bridge. Next up we have the subterranean tunnels based in South America. These things are absolutely insane, and apparently they were dug out by some ancient mega sloths or something, you know, back in the past when animals were far larger. So these things are ancient, they're really old. And I was thinking maybe Gulim Peaks, where you have all of the tunnels running through the mountains. That's fun. It's a really claustrophobic feeling, and it's just a really nice arena for battle. But the problem is with Gulim Peaks is the map is far too big, and the tunnel system isn't really that good because there aren't very many tunnels at all. And before you know it, your team's cleared out the tunnel and you're out back into the open again. What I think these tunnel systems would really enable DICE to do is have a completely underground map. Maybe you'd have a little bit outside just to make the map a little bit larger, but again it would be an infantry focused map with some buggies and things like that, maybe some transport, but apart from that it would focus on the infantry side of the game. I think it would be spectacular to have a completely underground map. It would have that claustrophobic feel, again, but I think the audio completely changes when you're in a confined space in Battlefield, and it would just be absolutely insane having teams going head to head in a completely closed off underground tunnel. The noise would be deafening, it would be awesome fun, and if they laid it out properly and did really good lanes, you'd almost have like an Operation Locker style mode, where you've got this whole indoor experience, but instead of it being man-made, there'd be tunnels, and I think that would just be really cool. Finally, I want to look at Nisshin Ashima. Nisshin Ashima is a volcanic island in the Pacific, and if you don't know anything about volcanic islands, well, basically they are always constantly growing. The island is growing in the same way that Hawaii was created, so basically the volcano erupts underwater and creates the island, and this continually grows. The story for this one would revolve around one faction taking it for tactical purposes. Of course, a Pacific volcanic island is important, and again, it wouldn't necessarily have to conform to any real life situation. It could just be made up, as a lot of the stories in Battlefield are. Now, I was thinking large naval and aerial combat for this one. You've got a volcanic island, I'm thinking maybe naval strike, you're going to have a lot of boats, maybe even focus on an aircraft carrier. That is something I'd really like to see. Aircraft carriers are awesome. We didn't see enough gameplay in them in Battlefield 4. Unfortunately, the Conquest Assault mode didn't really take off as it should have done. The naval side of the game is really great, and I'd love to see more of that. Nisshin Ashima is kind of a weird one because it's volcanic island out of the way, but I was trying to think of something where you could have a different Levolution style event, like a weather system like they had in BF1 with the sandstorm and stuff like that. I was thinking, what about a live volcano? That would be pretty damn cool, and I think the Frostbite engine would excel at showcasing that. Again, this is purely conjecture and I'm making it up, but I'm trying to think of the most exciting maps that DICE could implement. What do you think of these maps? Let me know down in the comments below. Of course, I'm not doing any concept art for this sort of stuff. I suck at drawing, but if you wanted to do that, I know people have done this in the past and had concept art for possible maps. If DICE ends up watching this, well, feel free to take all 5 of these ideas, and I'd love to see them in the vanilla portion of a game so I can get out there and play, especially the glass bridge one. That is something that I would just love to see in a Battlefield game. Something a bit different today. If you did enjoy, leave a like down below, and I'll catch you in the next video.